Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video I'm going to be making a MemoryDex card using the Planners Anonymous Girls Trip Kit. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so I have to thank Kelly Rowan Teasdale of the group on Planners Anonymous, who has inspired me to get going in with my MemoryDexes. It's kind of one thing that disappeared for 2022. I don't quite know why. I think it was just timing, and when I was doing my journals and like my art journals and stuff, it was just kind of the thing that got pushed out. So I thought I'd try one again today using the PA Girls Trip Kit. I really, and I know I made a shaker in Wednesday's video, but I really want to make another shaker because I look at this and I go, it's just perfect, and I adore this acetate. Like, the PA acetates are always great, but there's something about this one because it's coloured. I don't think I've seen a coloured one from PA before, and I just think it looks beautiful over the top of that sort of cityscape. So I'm going to do two things I don't normally do. The first is I am going to absolutely monster this bit of paper, because usually I'm very careful and usually I just use the stuff, I just use the edges that I want, but today I'm going to play with it and really take bits out of the middle. Oh well. I'm just grabbing a bit of washi. This is just my die cutting, holding things in place washi. And I'm just popping that just in a general position of where I want this card to be. Now this card's about the size of my MemoryDex box. So I use one of these. If you haven't seen my MemoryDex videos before, I will link some down below, or the playlist at least will be at the end. So mine, I think they're 13 and a half, I think. Yeah, 13.4 to 13.3 by 10 and a half. I can go higher, like have taller ones. I do have taller ones in there, but for today we're going to run with this. So I'm just going to cut this down to about the right size. I don't mind if I leave a bit more and I can cut it down afterwards. No, I think I'm happy with where that's sitting. Problem is I can't actually see what's there, so I'm guessing a little bit, but I think that's okay. We'll cut this to the right size, and I'm just making sure it's square, and then once that's cut we can then start cutting out the square portions. Actually just cut that a little bit higher, and it's because I've just realised something while I was doing it. So I'm just grabbing one of these other cards. No, it should be okay. Because I need to pop the punch bits in there, that's going to kind of get in the way of my shaker a little bit, so I should have cut this down a little bit smaller. I can work around that. That's a boo-boo that I can fix. So I'm just putting the holes in now so I can see. Oh, it will work, but it will be very close. Very close. Now, that's a previous one that I've done. I just like to use it because it's a one piece. It's really nice and solid. So I'm going to use my craft knife to cut out these squares. I did look at using a die. These aren't quite square, and that's fine. They don't need to be. So I'm just going to use a craft knife and a ruler to cut these out. And I'm just going to be really careful down here, because I do still want that panel, but we'll work out how to fix that later. So just a little tip, if you are doing sort of these cuts for these kind of cardstocks, I like to try and stay just on the inside of the white, just go slow and make sure you don't have to use a steel ruler, but I find that steel rulers are better because you can really sort of push up against them. You don't have to worry about the plastic getting cut or anything. And I am going to use these cutout bits behind, so I'm trying to make it a nice smooth cut as much as I can. Alrighty, so we've got our 4 little windows. I think that looks really good. I'm actually really happy with that. And the good thing is, in a second when we put this acetate, because it is a little bit flimsy and it is a very small little gap down here, when we put the acetate on, it will help that. And I'll make sure I put the acetate all the way down to the, not the bottom, but close, so that I can get that extra strength. So I'm just going to cut that out. I'm going to use the trimmer again. So what did I say that was? 10.5. So I'm just going to cut that to 10-ish. Cut it a little bit past it. I don't mind having a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to pop it down as far as I can, just so that I've got that extra strength at the bottom. The good thing is you don't have to be particularly precise here. This bit will never get seen, so it's easy to, if you make a mistake, it's also that. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down just using some double-sided tape. I'm actually going to use my, I was going to say I was going to use my really strong tape, but I don't think I need to. That's foam tape. I have too many different kinds of tape. So just using double-sided tape. Obviously this one in the middle is going to have to be the really, really thin one, which is fine. If you don't have thin double-sided tape, just grab like this bit, cut in half, and you'll be able to do it that way. Alright, so I've got all the tape on there. I just ended up using one extra little bit of skinny on one side because the windows aren't 100% in the middle. They look at, no, there's a little bit more on this side, but I'm quite happy with it either way. I'm just taking off all of the backing pieces. Why aren't I using my tweezers? It's a constant refrain. And the ones in the middle are the ones that I'm most sort of glad I had tape that fit. You can cut it. It is easy to cut, like I said, but the reason I have so many different widths of tape is so I can sort of make it work as best I can. Okay. So I'm going to grab that acetate. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe over just with my fingers, just to get rid of anything that might be sitting on there. I just like to have a bit of a look. And then, like I said, I want the bottom is the part for me that is the most important. So I'm just making sure that that's in the right spot, and then from there it's not so, doesn't matter so much. I love that so much. So then, so you can see, I'll pop this. So now you've sort of got a rough idea of what that looks like. I love that. That looks really cool. And when we stick it down in a second and make it with the windows in the back, it'll look really cool. Alright, so I want to do two things now. I want to hold these two together for a second. Just with some, it moved. Just with some tape. It's the same piece I was using before. And just get the holes punched. Now thankfully, when I did this before, I lined this up using, actually let's do it that way. I lined it up using the guide on here, which just makes it easier. Oh, did I make it? I did too. I made it taller than before. That's right, I've got plenty of cardstock around. I'm just going to cut another piece of cardstock because that one is not quite high enough now. I must have left it just a little bit taller. And that, like I said before, there's plenty of cards in there that are slightly taller, so it's not a problem whatsoever. So what did I give it to? Oh, that's right, I cut it to the dotted line. So it's at 10.8 centimeters-ish. That's better. Let's try that again. It's going to hold that still and that still. And I'll put it in the punch this way so that I can see. It just makes it easier. I'm going through acetate though, so this will be hard. There we go. Just for anyone that has one of these that feels like when they go through acetate they're breaking it, you're not. I've never had one break. This is my only one and I've put it through a lot. It feels like it's going to break. It's not going to. Just trust it. It'll do a good job. Alright, so while these are still taped there, I'm going to use them to sort of hold these in place. So a little bit more tape here, and I'm just going to line these up in the hole so I can see where the hole is, and I can just pop it there for now. I'm pretty sure that I'm right with what I'm doing. No, it might be around the other way. And the idea here is that I'll then put a bunch of glue tape on it, close this on itself, and it'll put the puzzle back together with this on the back, and that way I can line it all up. So again, trusting it's not quite doing what I want it to do. Let's do this then, shall we? I'll have to get the other sheet. Sometimes you have to get the other piece of the puzzle to know what's going on. Oh no, there's always that one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, no, 3, and 4. So I've got to move that bit there. Okay, so they sit like that. So we'll just pop each of them in and hold them in with some washi tape, and then put the glue on, close it, and we'll have it in the right spot. we'll bring in the glue. So I'm just using glue tape. Whatever kind of glue you like will work. I'm just trying not to get any on the back of the acetate. The good thing is, or the thing that I've always found, is that you don't need a lot of tape to get this to sit, these sort of things to sit nicely. And if they don't sit 100% when you do this, when you get to, once they're down, you can kind of then wiggle them around. So this is the harder part, because you've got to get that washi off. But because it is such low tack, it's not difficult to just sort of move your finger around in there and peel it off. There we go. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it. You could line it up the other way, but I've always found that this sort of way works a little bit better for me. It does look painful, but it's not. There we go. And there we've got our window. Right. Window. Let's get all this washi off. There's a bit of stuff hanging around on the back there, but that's right, it'll come off. Just picked up some fuzz. And then that sits straight on there. It'll obviously sit up a bit, and we can put all the shaker bits in behind. What this also means is that I don't have to worry about, what's the words I'm looking for? I don't have to worry about putting anything on the backing, because it'll work the way it is. You can though, if you're sort of worried about it, you could have put a bit of ink behind here so it's not so stark white, or used a coloured piece of cardstock. The black actually would have looked really pretty. But we're done now. Alright, let's start putting together the shaker mechanism. So I'm going to use the Uniquely Creative squares and strips. I love that these come with strips that are pre-cut. So I'm going to go all around the outside. Now I'm just going to do this part with you guys so that we're here and we can see how I do this, because it's going to be difficult. Is this bit here, because I need this to be cut. I need this, sorry, to be an actual piece and actually solid, because otherwise my shaker bits are going to escape. And I am going to use some slightly smaller stuff, so I don't want it to have an escape route. I want it to have to sit where I want it. So I'm putting it down straight across the little gap there. And I'm just going to come in with my scissors and just trim it down. It doesn't need to look good, because you're not going to see it anyway. But it's just hacking at it until you get enough of it gone that you can't see it anymore. It will really look not pretty from the back, but you never see the back. Just want to make sure I leave something there. No, you can still see it, so we're going to keep going. Alright, so I've done this with this one. I'm just going to trim that bit out. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, don't you hate when you try something and then you go, no, that's not what I should have done. So I'm going to, these are the square bits. I'm going to trim the skinniest little bit I possibly can. Alright, this is going to work, but it's just annoying. And do the same thing again. This time I can use it differently. I didn't make that wide enough. Where am I doing this? I'm just basically trying to fill in this hole. What I am using is not so small that I need to be really, really, really worried. I should be okay. So for this bit, I'm still going to do the same thing, in that I'm going to cut a bit out, but I'm not going to cut as much as I did before. I cut that way too wide. So see, this time I only cut just the little bit that I needed. I'm just checking that I can't see that. And once I'm happy, I'll come back in with this little square that I've cut down. Really thin bit again, and that should cover the little gap there. Alright. It's not the best one I've ever done, but it's okay. There we go. And that paper will come off. I was just looking through and I could still see the paper. Anyway, right up, we're good. So I'm going to continue doing that around the other side. I'm not going to put it in the middle because I want the shaker to be able to be a bit, kind of actually get some momentum behind it. The thing that I am considering doing, which is kind of difficult considering how much trouble I've just had, is just was putting an extra layer on, because I'm going to use some of the Uniquely Creative bubble beads, and they are a little bit bigger. They're not flat, they're not as small, and I'm just wondering if they're going to be too much. So I'm just grabbing in one of those bubble beads. Yeah, I can still feel that. I might have to use really small bubble beads, which is fine. This is my little tester. I just pop it in there and see how much things move around. If I use small ones, I think I'm okay. So I do want the other bits to be filled in as well. For that, I'm going to use slightly wider foam tape. This is Express It foam tape. It's the same height though, so it means that I can cover the width a little bit easier. I have another one as well. I have seriously every size and width of tape and foam tape. So I can put some at the top and around down the side, and I want to make sure the bit at the bottom is thick too. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill all of those gaps up, and I'll be right back. Alright, window on. I have a little bit of exposed stuff just here at the bottom, so it's enough to hold this in place just while I have a look at it, make sure I'm happy. I can see the white around it, but I'm actually, that's pretty good. That's about as good as I can get, so I'm happy with that. Alright, so then the same thing I did with my shaker the last time. Just going to get a bit of powder. I'm just going to be really careful because I do have some that's already exposed and I don't want to de-stick that. So just giving that a bit of a rub down. And then the hardest thing with powder is it does make your window look not great. So what I like to do is come in with a tissue. Now, some people say this defeats the purpose. It doesn't. Because for me, I have more problems with the stick around the edges than I do from the static in the middle. That's me though. Some people don't like the static. I don't mind it so much because for me, I can just give it a good old shake and it'll move. But it's the stuff getting stuck on the edges that drives me bonkers. Alright, so I'm grabbing my little spoon here. And as I said before, I'm just going to pick out the really big ones. Thankfully, I picked up a bunch of really little ones then, so that's good. I'm sending some of them a fly here, but that's alright. And if I get some that I can't find the little ones, give it a good old shake. So these ones here are the Uniquely Creative bubble beads, and they're the mermaid collection. So there's clear ones. There's clear ones in two sizes, this mixed kind of one, and then also just the little ones. And then the mermaid ones only come in the mixed size, which is fine. It's times like this that I was really young. I was really not happy that my dies didn't fit, because that would have made cutting that up really, really easy, and it would have been so much easier to cut through like fun foam or something to kind of give me a deeper well. But I do also want to add in a couple of other bits. I'm just going to see if I can pick up one more little spoonful where I don't pick up anything big. I don't think I can. They're getting everywhere. I'm losing my beads. For anyone here that knows Bluey, I lost my beads. Bluey runs on repeat in this house, so all my funny references these days either come from Bluey or Friends, because that's all we watch. Okay. Grabbing all these little escapees. And then I'm going to pop in a couple of these stars. These are from Hero Arts. I got these in a My Monthly Hero kit a little while ago. It was the one with the gnomes. And I'm also going to take, and I've just realised the mistake I've made, just a couple of big sequins. Because these are a bit flat, they do shake in here really nicely. And the bubble beads kind of help get that movement. The one thing I am doing is making sure when I put these sequins in, because these are A, old, and B, cheap, I'm making sure that there's not piles of them attached. And these sequins are even better because they are beautiful and teal, which is my favourite colour. One of my favourite colours. But they're completely flat, so I don't have to worry about them getting stuck. Alright, my mistake has been I didn't pull that tape off first, which I should have done. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that very slowly and very, very carefully, because I don't want to bump anything here. Because if I bump stuff, all my beads are going to go crazy. See, there we go. You can use the trick I showed you the other day of sort of just half pulling. But because I have so much tape here, and because I have so much that's not just a full piece, I don't think that system would work as well. So this one might just be one of those ones where we've just got to pop it down and hope for the best. I'm pretty good there. I think that's actually not too bad. Good thing is too, I'm rubbing this across the back and I can't feel too many of those bumps. So it means they're not too... Oh, that's so good. It means they're not too closely in. What I have just realised, and I kind of thought about it, thought it would happen when I did it, there are a couple of really, really tiny little balls, and they're kind of slipping through the bottom there, but not too badly. That's moving around the way I wanted it to, so that's giving me what I want. Excellent. Alright, so let's finish this off with some die cuts around the outside, just to kind of pull it all together. So we've got that suitcase, no. This one would make a really good shaker too if you wanted to do that. Oh, I like the idea of that sitting in there, but we'll see. That one would make a good shaker too. As with that one. Planning session admit one. Night out maybe. I thought we had a coffee cup. Not a coffee cup, a couch. Kind of like that martini sitting there, and then the night out in that top corner. Now I know it kind of covers a little bit, but I think it doesn't cover them enough to make you worry. Let's wash test. Actually, let's do the champagne flute instead of the martini glass. And then just before I stick it, I'm just going to grab the the stickers and make sure I don't want to use anything else. Where are they? Come here. Because the stickers sometimes have some really nice things that you can put there. I said that was what I thought there was. I thought there was a couch. Oh no. I think I'm happy. I do like the martini glass better though. I like the detail of the salt. I was going to say I've got a ball under there, I can feel it. Okay, so I'm going to put the little martini glass kind of off to the side a little bit, and then the same thing with the night out, just going to have that off to the side, like just so it's not straight. And the cool thing, I know I've said this 1,000 times, but it's just awesome, is that the PA die cuts now have their own adhesive attached, so I don't have to do anything. I'm just fixing in this little corner here, there's just a little bit of foam tape that I can see popping out. I'm not cutting it, I'm just shoving it back a little. And there we've got our little window girls trip MemoryDex card. I want to send the biggest thank you ever to Kelly for continuing to share MemoryDex cards. As I said in the beginning, I kind of lost my want to make these, but in seeing hers, and she did hers with Into the Wild, which I haven't got yet, but she's also done them with lots and lots of others, which I have as well, and I will link the ones that I've done with PA down below as well if you're interested. But she's just reminded me how much I love doing these and how much shakers are just so much fun. I think if I was going to do it again, I might put it up higher and find a way to be able to do that. But I do love the way it is shaking around. I'm getting enough movement. Those big ones actually are really helpful. I love the colour combo. I think the colour combo is great. A little bit of blue in the teal kind of helps with the sparkles there. So if you did enjoy this one, please give it a big old thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to see more MemoryDex cards from me, whether they're PA or someone else, please let me know. Find me down below, or of course you can grab me on my socials. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!